The shuffling dead are silenced. We have claimed dominion over the ruins once more.
And welcome back to more Darkest Dungeon. This is episode 35, week 88, getting underway. Okay, so our town event this week is Silence in the Crypts. We've seen this one before. We're going to get bonus damage and resolve XP in the ruins. And you've seen me do this before, where the week prior to going into a dungeon and doing one of the bosses there, I go for a town event which will yield the bonus XP and damage the following week in that dungeon. Now the difference here is that having reached the champion level of content, we've no longer had to worry about heroes getting too high a level to be able to enter the dungeons we need them for. And accordingly, we've been able to just let weeks go by and wait until that town event shows up, do it, then the next week, head into the dungeon and do the boss. If you recall, when we were in the apprentice and veteran level of content, we didn't have that luxury, Heroes could get too high a level, and if the town event was there and we could get it, that worked out and that was great, but if not, we just had to go in without the bonus XP and damage. Now as for our overall progress, as you've been watching, we've moved into the champion level of content, and if you recall, I first wanted to knock out all the side quest ancillary things like gathering journal entries for the shield breaker backstory, etc. And then once that was out of the way, we did the DLC content first, the Color of Madness in the farmstead and the Crimson Court in the courtyard. And now we are embarking on, the original 4 dungeons: Ruins, Warren's Cove, and Weald. And then after that, we'll wrap it all up with the Darkest Dungeon. So one thing I want to say real quick is that if you've made it this far, I've got to thank you and congratulate you. In addition to this turning out to be, kind of a long video series with lots of episodes, the last 3 episodes were all an hour and a half or longer each. So to get through those is one thing. An hour and a half episode here and there, no big deal. But to do 3 in a row is pretty tough. So I apologize for that, but that's just the nature of the beast. The farmstead quest was the initial endless harvest, so obviously that was going to be fairly lengthy. And then the final 2 Crimson Court quests, the Viscount and the Countess. As you know by now, those Crimson Court maps with their long, grueling layouts and whatnot, those take a lot of patience and perseverance. So yeah, thanks again. The good news is, moving forward, we're back into the original content, and as you've seen in the past, these main dungeons don't take that long. And you'll also be glad to hear that the 4 Darkest Dungeons, those don't take very long either. Alright, so we're just about ready to go. As for our party composition, it's basically the same strategy that I've done for the Necromancer the last 2 times. The only difference is, if you recall, we did Hellion, Crusader, Highwayman, and Vestal. This time it's actually Hellion and then 2 Crusaders doing the leapfrog strategy, with the Vestal in the back healing. And truth be told, this is the composition that I had planned out in my master plan for the Necromancer every time. But I don't know if you can remember way back to the early weeks, we didn't have a second Crusader available, or when we did, if we used him, that particular hero was at risk of getting too high a level to do the other dungeons that we needed him to do. So we just replaced that second Crusader with a Highwayman who could do the leapfrog strategy as well. And also, by way of reminder, prior to entering the dungeon for each of the upcoming bosses, I'm going to present to you all of the Ancestors' memoirs for each boss in their entirety, in chronological order, so that you can really experience the backstory all at once and get a real feel for who these bosses were and how our ancestor interacted with them. Alright, so sit back and enjoy. Here we go with the Necromancer Lord and the Necromancer backstory.
Mastery over life and death was chief among my early pursuits. I began in humility, but my ambition was limitless. Who could have divined the prophetic import of something as unremarkable as a twitch in the leg of a dead rat? I entertained a delegation of experts from overseas, eager to plumb the depths of their knowledge and share with them certain techniques and alchemical processes I had found to yield wondrous and terrifying results. Having learned all I could from my visiting guests, I murdered them as they slept. I brought my colleagues back with much of their intellect intact, a remarkable triumph for even the most experienced necromancer. Freed from the trappings of their humanity, they plied their terrible trade anew, the dead reviving the dead, on and on down the years. Forever. A devil walks these halls. Only the mad or the desperate go in search of him.
Alright, big time backstory, Devatron. Whew, and what a gruesome tale it is. But yeah, it should be no surprise by now the lengths and extremes to which our ancestor was willing to go in his pursuit of the sinister, otherworldly powers that lie beneath the estate.
Ambushed by foul invention. Cruel machinations spring to life with a singular purpose.
Okay, so not much going on so far. Kind of an empty dungeon, a decent layout to get to a boss, only one way to go. But without any scouting, we're going to have to just walk into a bunch of traps, evidently.
Eradicated. A momentary abatement. In Radiance, may we find victory. Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles. Masterfully executed. Continue the onslaught. Destroy them all. Annihilated. A trifling victory, but a victory nonetheless.
All right, first fight down, not too bad. If the Crusaders can get freed up from stress healing duty, then they can really crush these unholy enemies quickly.
Watch your step.
All right, and finally a little scouting to help out, but of course, now that we get the scouting, there aren't any more traps, so sounds like we're playing Darkest Dungeon, Devatron.
Great is the weapon that cuts on its own. As the light gains purchase, spirits are lifted, and purpose is made clear. Decimated. Obliterated. This expedition at least promises success. As the fiend falls, a faint hope blossoms. Their formation is broken. Maintain the offensive. disadvantage. Give them no quarter. The way is lit. The path is clear. We require only the strength to follow it. Success so clearly in view. Or is it merely a trick of the light?
All right, so a really nice fight there. We did well to take out that Bone Bearer as quickly as we did in that initial surprise round. If left unchecked, Bone Bearers can be quite dangerous and quite annoying. They don't do much damage on their own, but they passively buff the rest of the enemies, kind of like with an aura. And then also when it's their turn, they can actively buff individuals and, basically turn what is otherwise an innocuous trash mob into a very hard-hitting, very dangerous foe. And what's worse, if you kill another enemy, the Bone Bearer can summon more undead to occupy the rank of that enemy you just killed. So you definitely want to take care of them as quickly as possible.
Foolish horrors, brought low and driven into the mud. Well struck. Precision and power. As victories mount, so too will resistance.
All right, so really nice couple of fights there. Keep in mind, though, we are buffed from that Silence in the Crypts town event. But yeah, we're basically just, crushing this dungeon so far.
A powerful blow. Compassion is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle. Such a terrible assault cannot be left unanswered. Compassion is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle. A death by inches. Slowly, gently. This is how a life is taken. A fortune, waiting to be spent.
Alright, so even though those enemies weren't unholy, and thus the Crusaders didn't get the bonus damage on their Holy Lance attacks, the group just, chewed through them. I basically used the encounter to recover stress and health and whatnot. Absolutely didn't give us any pause at all.
Even the cold stone seems bent on preventing passage. The ground quakes. Impressive. A devastating blow. These nightmarish creatures can be felled. They can be beaten.
Yeah, I mean, what can we say? This is so docile compared to the last 3 episodes. A long, grueling, endless harvest followed by huge courtyard maps with tough bloodsucker fights, but it's alright. We'll take a nice, quick, easy run when it's handed to us, right, Devatron?
Confusion, nerves, and panic. Remind yourself that overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Circle in the dark. The battle may yet be won.
Okay, so last room before the boss, it's time to camp. Notice we have 14 respite points because we have a Hellion who's considered an outsider. Thus, we're gaining the benefit of the Outsider's Bonfire district upgrade. As for buffs, we're going to prevent a nighttime ambush, and then we're going to buff our Hellion to the gills, increase her dodge, accuracy, damage, and crit. So she's absolutely going to be our juggernaut of destruction as we face this vile Necromancer Lord.
The light, the promise of safety. The match is struck. A blazing star is born. A decisive pummeling. A singular strike. Seize this momentum. Push on to the task's end.
Oh yeah, Devatron. There's a little sneak peek at our hard-hitting Hellion. Yeah, with the town event buff and all those camping buffs, she's just become, you know, an absolute terror. Alright, let's top it off and get to the boss, Devatron. Here we go with the Necromancer Lord.
Towering, fierce, terrible, nightmare-made material. Reeling, about to break. Compassion is a rarity in the fevered pitch of battle. Be wary. Triumphant pride precipitates a dizzying fall.
Oh yeah. Close call, Devatron. Close. Nah, I'm just kidding. We absolutely destroyed that guy. Come on, Necromancer Lord. Alright, here we go with our haul, and this is going to take a while. Look at all those heirlooms adding up, Devatron. Yeah, we'll see in a few minutes. Decent gold reward from the quest itself, not so much picked up. We get a man-at-arms trinket. It has its uses, but I never use it. I don't think it's that great. However, the trophy that the Necromancer Lord dropped gives a nice bonus to damage against Unholy, so we're going to be using it in the next boss fight against the Gibbering Prophet. But yeah, all in all, a nice run here. Okay, on to quirks. Necromania on our Hellion isn't good. Warren's Explorer replacing Wheeled Explorer, that's 1 for 1. Quick reflexes is really good, especially replacing Ruins Scrounger. And then Ruins Explorer replacing Clodder isn't good. Clodder's actually kind of a nice quirk to have. Darkest Dungeon, Devatron. The Necromancer Lord. We're on our final run of the original dungeons. Oh yeah. We'll see you in the next episode.